Welcome to the Great Lakes Smoke Podcast Show. What we talk about basically is the love and the passion of cigars, pipe smoking, tobacco, alcohol, brothers chilling out and having a good time, laughter.
Well, how else are you gonna, enjoy a nice bourbon?
And you kind of went animalistic on tobacco buying, haven't you?
And the Rocky Patel Pure and Simple. I don't know, that thing just tastes so good.
Aficionados, and welcome to another Great Lakes Podcast Show. And we've got an exciting guest for you this evening. We are really fortunate to have him. Bob and I have been talking about it for a while. And finally, we got him on here, and we are so excited about it. In the meantime, we also have an in-house guest. You've been listening to him and hearing him lately. Mr. Tim Garrity, our new president of the Chicago Pipe Club, and a big bonus donor for pipes that we give away in our show each and every single week, or at least we try to give a pipe away. Cousin Frank sitting down in Florida, making it very difficult. But it is what it is when Cousin Frank has stumped the chooch.
Yeah, he don't like to give away pipes.
No, he's a toughie. He's a toughie guy. But in the meantime, for all the new people, and we've been seeing a lot of you new people, especially around the world, coming up. A little introduction. Special guest here. We'll get to you in a second. My name is Ron Pecorini. My brother, Bob Pecorini.
What's going on?
The man behind the scenes, the technical master, the Wizard of Oz himself, brother Kyle Jesso.
Hey, how you doing, everybody?
Some kind of Star Wars routine out there for him. What's that called there, Kyle?
It's the Millennium Falcon.
The Millennium Falcon. I don't remember names. You'll get used to that. Then we have Cousin Frank there with a bunch of his pipes in the background from Florida. And again, our special guest from Cornell and Diehl, Mr. Jeremy Reeves. Good evening, Jeremy, and how are you tonight?
How you doing, buddy?
Good evening. Thank you so much. I'm doing really well, guys. I'm doing really well. How about y'all?
Awesome.
Doing good, hanging in there, all things considering with the craziness, with the virus and all, but everything is good at this end. So
Good.
Everyone's safe and healthy.
Obviously, we missed actually seeing you in person this year because our show was canceled due to the virus.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
But
Yeah.
we hope to actually see you in October and the Richmond show.
I hope so.
I know you're going to be there, right? You're going to be one of the, you're going to have a little clinic, a seminar, and
Yes, that's correct.
We're looking forward to doing that, man.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too. Me and Russ Roulette will be teaching a little class about blending, and we're going to actually kind of do a demonstration of my sort of approach to the development of a blend and his approach to the development of a blend, and then kind of helping people sort of maybe translate those ideas into how they can kind of blend at home and kind of show them that there's more than one way to skin this particular cat.
That's
cool.
awesome. That's awesome.
And Russ certainly is a great blender. I mean, he's got some spectacular blends.
I agree.
It's going to be very good. The two of you teaming up, and of course we have Mac Barron's own blender there. So
yeah, he'll be doing his own separate thing, and I think it's a longer seminar than what Russ and I are doing. A little more involved.
Okay, cool. Nevertheless, it's going to be a great show.
Well,
Yeah, I think so.
just a little bit, guys, just for all you newbies and what you're talking about, is October 2nd and 3rd. The Richmond Pipe Club is getting together with Sutliff down there at the factory, and they're going to have a 2-day big showing. They're going to have lots of vendors like Jeremy for CNL and a bunch of others, and they're going to C&D and others, and basically they're going to have a tour for people in the factory for Sutliff. And right now, you got to book. They have the Omni Hotel has got about 225 rooms set aside for this. It's really the biggest show that's going to happen this year.
Yeah. Well, every other show was canceled. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I do believe the Ohio show is actually going to be going on.
Okay.
That's what I heard. So,
And when is that? Did you get it
next month?
Next month?
Yeah.
Okay. I did not hear that it was confirmed.
Yep.
So that's why we didn't push it. We will follow up on that and let you guys know. But Jeremy here and his company will be part of the October 2nd Richmond Club. And we had just recently, Jeremy talked about it about 2 weeks ago. He came on and pretty exciting news and what they have really set up. It's getting bigger each and every single year. They're excited. And again, because no one's done anything this year, except maybe Ohio, I think this might be the biggest show of the year that we've been talking about.
It'll be
this
the
is the most
biggest
exciting one. So, Jeremy, you're actually going to be in a hot spot. Did you hear anything about the Ohio show? And are you guys still going? Are you booked for that?
I have not heard anything about Ohio, and quite frankly, in our area of South Carolina right now, we're in a bit of a spike, and so I probably would not be traveling so soon personally.
Okay.
Great. Health first, safety first, and go from there. Right. Absolutely.
Wait for October. I think that'll be a bigger show anyhow. So that certainly sounds like the one to be at this year.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's just it's just tough. Like I was telling you guys before we really started that my girlfriend works in the hospital, and I mean it's been pretty intense. She has been seeing this happen in real time for 4 months, and then we go to a grocery store and everybody is there acting like nothing's happening or it's all fake or whatever, and it's been kind of a scary dichotomy for us.
Now, do you have one of those spray boots before you enter the house? We go in and get the detox unit.
I wish we had an airlock or something, but I have a good array of masks, and we have a pretty good regimen of get in, get out at the grocery store, and quite frankly, most of what we eat these days tends to come more and more off of the land that we actually have.
Oh,
so
that's very nice. Very good.
So yeah, grocery store trips are fewer and fewer all the time.
Now, is everything open down in South Carolina, or do you have a lot of restrictions?
No, everything is pretty much open right now, and I've got my feelings on that, I guess, but the governor doesn't care what I think. So
well, we're just minutes away from Wisconsin here, and in Wisconsin everything is open. It's been open for weeks already. So, here we still have a lot of restrictions in Illinois.
Yeah.
So we have one of our regular followers, Andre.
Hey, Andre.
Andre, I'm going to be reading the information we just got text over. The 2020 NASPC Swap and Sell Show is a go. In accordance with the guidelines set by the Ohio Health Department and with the little help from the Crown Plaza, we feel safe and confident in saying that the show will go on. So set your sights on August 21st, August 22nd, 2020 at the Crown Plaza North in Columbus, Ohio for the first major show, pipe show of the season. Tables will be sparse, spaced further apart, and aisles will be wider to adhere to social distancing guidelines. While masks are not required at this time in Ohio, they are recommended. So make your own choice. Please keep in mind that other people's choices may differ from your own and that everyone is welcome at the show. Reserve your rooms now to be part of the Great Lake Show. See you in August. Andre, thank you for that update. That's great news.
I think it's also there that social distancing will be 1 pipe length between people.
So that's 6 inches, right?
It depends on what pipe you're smoking. Some of the
right. This would definitely be a show maybe to bring all of your ODAs and magnums to, guys.
This might be the show you had to practice everything, and then we go to Richmond and let loose. So that would be a wonderful thing. And hopefully, depending on the man behind the scenes, if he put in for those couple of days off, we do have a hotel room and a vehicle ready to go. And we will be hopefully doing our show. And if we do, we like for you to know, come on board, and we like to do a live interview with you at the show if that works out in your timetable.
That would be cool. That would be really cool.
How long is that seminar that you're going to be doing with Russ?
We're doing a 2-hour seminar.
Maybe we'll even capture the seminar.
If that's okay with you.
Doing the show
something we got to talk about scheduling
We'll
wise.
talk about that further.
Sure.
Just an idea.
Mm-hmm.
So Jeremy, a lot of people don't really know your history and how you got involved. You want to take it from the beginning, and I don't mean when you were born, but
don't start in Genesis.
Which way
about 10 years old.
When you first started smoking a pipe, we'll take it from there.
Okay. Well, I left home when I was 19 to move to Chicago, and I at the first round in Chicago, I stayed in a commune, actually focused on feeding and clothing homeless people. Oh. And I was assigned a roommate. I didn't know anybody in Chicago. I didn't know anybody at the commune. I got in touch with the group because I knew of them through church-related things where I was in New Mexico, and decided this is what I wanted to go and kind of do. But the roommate that I was assigned to ended up being the best friend I've ever had in my life. And he and I left the commune separately, and I moved to Denver. He moved back to Baltimore, where he was from. But about a year and a half later, we decided to move to Tennessee together. So I picked up from Denver, he picked up from Baltimore. We went down and met up in Tennessee, and from there we just kind of did a traveling John and Jeremy road show for a while. we
Nice.
would move to a place and live there for a bit and work there, and then move to a different place, and we started gathering people in the group along the way. So anyway, we ended up back in Chicago for a few years. And I got a job at Blue Havana cigar shop that used to be down on Belmont and Clark, one of the alley stores. And so I had been kind of dabbling in cigars. I was interested in them. I certainly liked them. I didn't know really much about them. But quickly after getting the job and getting over the initial excitement of oh, this thing I'm really kind of into, it's now my job, I began to realize that it was a lot deeper for me than just cigars are cool, and that the people in the tobacco industry were really cool, and really down to earth, and really chill and vibrant kind of characters, and that the customer base in our cigar store was also this vibrant cast of characters. And it took all kinds, and you had all sorts of mindsets and all sorts of backgrounds and all sorts. Yes, I mean
anything you can find. Yeah,
anything that you can find. But then it's down at Belmont and Clark, so add an extra layer or two of weird. But I mean, it was a cool shop to work in, and I really kind of began to glean this understanding that yeah, tobacco's cool, but people that hang out here that wouldn't hang out if it weren't for coming to this shop to get their smokes, that it built community in this really special way. And it built community across barriers. People who would never have encountered one another as human beings and merely as like the preset sort of stereotype, or the preset sort of like, this is my group, or, you know, that person's not in or whatever. But, oh, you know, you're smoking that cigar. What do you think of it? Oh, I'm smoking this. Starts a dialogue that, sitting a few hours in a room, these guys meeting and sharing ideas and getting into arguments, and like, you know what I mean? It built something that was really cool and really unique to me. And that spoke to me a lot. And I was totally in. So the linchpin of that understanding, actually, I'm sorry for those of you out there that may have heard me tell this story before, but it's a true story, and it really has a lot to do with how I progressed in my own interaction and love affair with tobacco, and with the industry, and with the people who appreciated it. We had a customer who was a lawyer, had his practice downtown. You know, the kind of guy that carried an attaché case that worth more than any car I'll ever own. You know, kind of guy that wore, you know, fancy $high suits and all this. And he would come in every day around 4:30 or so, after he got off the train coming back to Lakeview where he lived, and he'd grab a La Aurora Sapphire Tubo, $18 cigar, and he'd get one of those every day, pick it up, and he'd just split. He would never hang out in the store. He'd, you know, come in, buy his cigar, and then he'd get back on the red line and head on. So, well, around that same time, little did he know, because he didn't ever hang out, but there was a homeless guy who lived under the bridge up by Belmont and Ashland.
Okay.
And he would spare for change at the corner of Belmont and Clark. And around 4:30, 4:45, he would come in and buy a 75-cent cigar, and then go and hang out in our lounge before he had to walk to his spot in Ashland, so that he wasn't walking at night when it was less safe for him.
Okay.
One day, the lawyer comes in and bought his cigar, but he had something that had him actually staying in the neighborhood for a little bit. So he went and sat down in the lounge, and the homeless guy was already in there. By the end of their sharing a cigar together, these two guys started hanging out on the regular in our lounge.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
And so, you know, I mean, it was like, hey, is Joe around? You know, he'll be in later. Oh yeah, let him know that I'll be back by. And then they would meet up, and they would break bread, man. It was so cool. And that really was the linchpin for me of how valuable having a shared hobby could be to bridging gaps between people. And
that happens in just about all lounges.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'd be amazed.
Absolutely.
I think every single one has similar stories. You know?
Right. Yep, that's exactly right.
There's a camaraderie that instantly happens, you know?
Yes.
Oh, it's just like, if it wasn't for cigars and pipe tobacco, I wouldn't be hanging out with these two.
Yeah.
They'll do it with and their family.
You'd still be in the joint.
I'll be under a different alias.
You're peddling those pipes out from there, you know? Those fake pipes from China.
Yeah.
Quality briars.
Yes.
How long did you remain in that lounge?
I was at Blue Havana for 3 years, and then I got a job at La Casa del Tobacco over off the Blue Line north stop, and then I got a job at Yvonne Reese.
Oh,
All right.
Yeah.
Here we're talking. Now
Nice.
that's the real start.
Boy, you stepped up now.
So back at Blue Havana, I had definitely dug in on cigars. I was given my first pipe actually by a friend of mine that I met at Blue Havana, who was our lane rep, and who, as it turns out, rented his apartment from the owner of Blue Havana.
Oh.
And so he kind of hung out a lot at the shop when he wasn't out traveling, peddling lane tobacco through the Midwest. So he gave me a pipe one day. He came in and brought me some red Rappery and some McClellan 24 and a very, very nice made in Denmark Stanwell Sandblast Billiard. And nice.
Very nice. That was very nice of him.
Nice.
Yeah. And he said, you like this tobacco thing way too much to be wasting your time with cigars, was what he said to me. He was like, as much as you dig all this, cigars are so user friendly, and there's not as much depth to it. You need something that is going to be more mentally engaging to you, and I think a pipe is ultimately your cup of tea. So I tried desperately to pack my pipe the way that he showed me to, and get it lit and keep it lit, and of course singed my tongue, and way over puffed, and all the overpacked, and all the things that we all do starting off, or most of us do anyway.
Of course.
I've known a couple of people that seem to just like get it off the top of their head. They understood it, but I overthought everything. That's kind of a thing for me anyway. So yeah, I struggled with it, but I kept coming back to it because for me it was a challenge, and for me it was something that I wanted to understand the right way. But it really wasn't something that took hold for me over my cigar smoking until I worked at Yvon Rees.
Okay.
And that's really the place where being surrounded by a customer base that was very pipe knowledgeable and very pipe tobacco
Chuck is amazing. He's like
yes, absolutely. And being yes, absolutely.
All the pipes that are there are just wow.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, and I mean the backstock in that place is just bananas. So being around Chuck and Susie and Kevin and Ron at the time, and Adam and Mike and Jeremy, the other Jeremy that was there at the time, and just having all of these different discussions about pipes and what's a good pipe and what's a bad pipe, and how different tobaccos work together in blends and things. That's really what cinched pipes for me, and I found myself smoking cigars less and less, and found myself really gravitating towards a pipe.
So you were right in the hotbed. I mean, you're talking, class 101. You really
and then some.
would have made. Yeah, exactly.
You got a college degree at that place. Do you still smoke a cigar periodically?
I do.
Okay. Because we all smoke cigars too. So
Yep. No, I love cigars and
pipe all day long.
But pipes are definitely, if I was forced to choose, it wouldn't be a really, really difficult decision for me. Pipe is definitely more my cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So after Irwin,
what's the next progression?
Yvon Rees, what happened then? Where does the
after Yvon Rees, I ended up while I was at Yvon Rees, actually, I ended up getting a job at a restaurant part-time, and after a while I was actually making more money at the restaurant, and so I went there, and I'd worked in food for many years after that. Ended up moving to Portland, Oregon, where I worked at a wood-fired pizza place for about 5 years, and we made our own mozzarella, and we grew our own basil and our own oregano, and we made our own sodas, and we butchered our own bacon and our own sausage, and we did everything. And did our own plumbing. We did everything.
Oh, a lot plumbing, huh?
What style was that pizza? Was that a Chicago style or a New York style?
No, neither. It was that was Neapolitan style wood fired.
Oh, nice.
A real thing.
Yeah,
Very good.
Nice.
Yeah. So real. I mean, bacon 870 to 900 degrees on the floor. Bake a pizza in about 90 seconds.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that stone really works. Beautiful.
Yep. Yep. So learning how to work the fire and all. Oh, go ahead.
How'd you come back from Portland? I mean, that's big moves for you.
He's always been doing big moves. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, I went from being in a town of about 8,000 permanent residents in New Mexico to living in Chicago at 19. Then from Chicago to Denver, then from Denver to Cleveland, Tennessee, then from Cleveland, Tennessee to York, Pennsylvania, from York back to New Mexico for 4 months, and then to Chicago again, and then 5 years later to Portland, Oregon, and then 5 years later to Charlotte, North Carolina, to go to work at Smoking Pipes.
Wow.
Okay. You worked at Smoking Pipes too. Okay. Oh.
I did. That's how the Cornell and Diehl gig actually happened.
Oh, okay.
Charlotte is near my homestead of Wilmington, so we're real close.
Yeah, I lived in Wilmington. We moved here originally to Charlotte because we could get a 6-month apartment and kind of figure out where we really wanted to be. Right, and then we ended up moving to Wilmington, and then we ended up relocating to Conway, which is where I live now.
Gotcha. Yep, I'm very familiar with Conway.
Excellent. Yep. So you went to Smoking Pipes, where you got more in depth, more information.
What were you doing at Smoking Pipes?
I was working in customer service
or selling, or
I was working in customer service doing sales.
Okay.
I did some writing for the website, and I worked on some projects like the tobacco locator tool.
Very good.
That's on Smoking Pipes. That was an idea that came out of a number of conversations that myself and Shane Ireland had with Sykes about wanting to have the same sort of tool as we already had in place for a customer to be able to find the pipe they were looking for. We wanted to be able to build that same sort of database search engine kind of thing for tobacco. And at first he didn't think it was gonna work, and then eventually we were able to kind of come up with a game plan that would work. And Shane and I actually worked hours and hours and hours inputting all of the data that about the different tobaccos that we carry that makes that tool work.
Wow.
So Sykes built the framework, the software for it, and Shane and I did all of the data entry.
Nice.
It's
awesome.
It's really a nice thing too.
It's
on it often. I enjoy it.
I use it all the time. Talking with customers on the phone, I would use it all the time in customer service then, and I use it now because we make so many different products that it's really useful to be able to just a couple of clicks, and I'm looking at the 4 or 5 blends that a customer who's reached out to me with questions is looking for.
Nice.
It's a great tool for me because I can't keep all of that straight in my head from moment to moment.
I have a question for you, Jeremy. So in your travels, how many blenders have you come across?
That's a small question. I'll put you
I'm sorry, but I I'm just chuckling because I mean there's really only a handful of people who do much more than dabble at home, which I did at the time, but I didn't meet anybody who was a tobacco blender for pipe tobacco until I came to work at C&D. And then I met the folks at C&D and then a bunch of people from other companies. But yeah, no, there's not a whole lot of people blending pipe tobacco, at least none that I came across.
Well,
I think there's
it's interesting to see, like, where these ideas of flavor blends are coming from. I am a delicate flower.
Very delicate.
I like aromatics. All right. If it smells like mulch, you don't smoke it.
Yeah. Okay. I definitely understand that perspective. But I think that the ideas for blends come from all sorts of different places, just like the ideas for pipe designs come from all sorts of places. Did you see that Todd Johnson pipe in the Smoking Pipes 6th anniversary American Pipe Carvers Expo that went up today?
I didn't see it today. No.
Is a pipe that was inspired by a duck breast dinner, and he took a photo of a duck breast dinner that he had in one of his favorite restaurants, and he made a pipe patterned after the duck breast presentation, and then he made a stand out of ebonite or ebonite shavings and bakelite slices that he
really?
Oh yeah,
Wow.
It's incredible. He totally captured the plating of this duck breast dinner in this pipe and the stand that he made for it. It's incredible.
I'll have to check that out.
So I think
awesome.
I only mention it to say, I think people get inspiration from all sorts of places, and for me, most of my inspiration comes from culinary experience. Before I worked in restaurants, I was still very much an involved home cook, and spent a lot of hours in the kitchen with my mom when I was a kid, and I just loved everything about building something from scratch that was then going to be presented to a group of people to share together. And that carried over into my love of the way that cigars brought people together, and my love of the way that pipes brought people together. And it carried over to my time working in a restaurant. I was creating something that people could sit down and blow off steam with one another and break bread. And that's been a constant theme. As crazy as my travel schedule sounds, that's been a unifier.
So let me ask you, what was the inspiration behind Sun Bear? How did you come up with that one? I know the honey, we're getting to the food.
Yep, absolutely. So my girlfriend and I had just started keeping bees. Her parents gave us a beehive for Christmas and signed us up for a colony of bees from a local bee breeder who guarantees his hives for 1 year. So when we went and picked up our bees and introduced them to the hive, I was really excited about it. And I was talking to folks at work about it. And that kind of sparked conversation about, like, we could do something that's like a summer blend. And, honey would be perfect for that. And so I started kind of playing around with recipes and finding things that we could use to make a delicate but fragrant casing. And so, yeah, after working on that
one.
Well, thank you very much.
Here's a blend question. What about the whole Cthulhu blends?
Yeah. So I am a huge H.P. Lovecraft fan. Matt Johnson, our production manager, is also a big H.P. Lovecraft fan, and we thought it would be cool to kind of make some off the wall blends that could pay some homage to the off the wall storytelling that Lovecraft, did so well. And the weird sci-fi horror kind of thing. No, yeah, there's that pipe.
Yeah.
There's that pipe.
That's what he's talking about.
Oh, there it is. Wow.
Yeah, so you can see the shavings. Those are actually ebonite shavings off of the blade, and he used them to be the one of the greens that was on the plate.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
Nice presentation. Looks like out in a restaurant and presenting it to someone's dinner.
Yeah, that's right.
So when you're talking about the honey, I was thinking about a little Sherlock Holmes there. Any inspiration there? Holmes always said, if I'm wrong, I'll keep bees in Sussex, He was going to retire, and that was it.
Well, no, I can't lay claim to any Sherlock Holmes inspiration. We've toyed with the idea of making a black shag that would have been maybe period correct for Holmes, but at this point, it's not something that we've gone forward with. It's mostly just been an idea that's been kicked around some.
Well, kick it around a little more. Go for it. No one's stopping you.
Well, it'd be interesting to see what you come up with. I mean, one of the things that a lot of the guys I talk about when I'm talking to people about historical tobaccos, it'd be just interesting to see, of course, we're talking the 1600s, we're talking a lot of Burley, a lot of straight Virginia, nothing too fancy.
No.
Right.
But, Holmes, 1890s.
Well, yeah. I mean, and funny because, with Basil, some of the Holmes movies, remember he was picking up a cigarette butt that he wanted to have analyzed, and he brought it to a local tobacconist, and she was describing what was in it, and then she just said, and it's just a pinch of Latakia for flavor, I mean, and she knew every single one of those tobaccos that were in there.
Yeah, you go to most tobacco shops now, and they're like, it's tobacco.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this, Jeremy. One of my favorite blends from Cornell and Diehl is the Black Frigate. That's that one is one of my favorites that I smoke. That one and the King Cake. I'll alternate between those.
Oh, awesome! Those are very different blends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I got a very variety palette. I pretty much smoke everything.
That's awesome. Yeah, I do too.
Is Autumn Evening.
Autumn Evening, yes.
I really like that one. Could you add just a little bit more maple to that, though? Just a little bit more. And Crooner. I like Crooner, too.
Oh, good. Yeah. Crooner is definitely one that, is I think most people either really, really enjoy it or it's not their jam.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I really like Crooner actually. I think deer tongue is such a cool ingredient to use.
An interesting one for sure.
Yeah.
Well, here's another tobacco question for you. So, because of your position, do you hear anything about Syrian Latakia being produced again, or is it?
Now with the war and everything going on there, no.
No, Syrian Latakia hasn't been produced in any quantity that would do any company, any manufacturer any good in decades. And the current state of affairs, I think, has really, really solidified that. I don't imagine that we're going to see Syrian Latakia or Syrian farming in general.
Ever again? You don't think so?
I don't know. I think that the tobacco industry in the Middle East and in Turkey and in Syria and in Greece is just like here. It's totally driven by cigarettes. And so as there are no cigarettes that use Latakia anymore,
no, not anymore.
The old Balkan Sobrani were the last cigarette that used Latakia, and they haven't been available for a long time. And so really the only kind of tobacco that Latakia gets used in is pipe tobacco, and of smokers, pipe smokers make up the smallest percentage. You know, so to make Latakia in any sort of quantity and then have any customers to actually purchase it, you know, you really need a solid supply chain, and I don't think that Syria is stable enough to be able to consistently provide that. And I think that's why Cyprus kind of stepped in.
How different do you feel about the two? I mean,
they're very different. There's no question.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people say it's not too much of a difference, but I think it's night and day between the two.
I think they're very, very different. But you know, that said, I think that there are ways of processing once you've got Latakia that do tone it down, or can tone it down. I've done experiments with Latakia in a few different ways that brought it nearer to that wine-like sort of character that the Sheikh El Bent leaf had. I mean, I haven't been able to replicate it, obviously, otherwise you guys would be smoking it right now, maybe.
Yep. I used to smoke it straight one time.
Yeah. Sure.
I loved it.
Sure. I mean, I like Cyprian Latakia straight. Yeah, I think it's delicious, delightful.
Wow. A lot of people won't stay next to you, but you know.
Right. Well, you know, it works for social distancing.
Yes, social distancing. It's your social distance tobacco.
Right.
So let me bring you back a little bit, Jeremy, because I got to.
Yeah, we don't want to interrupt the story. So bring us up now to past
getting past smoking pipes.
Smoking pipes. How did you develop your relationship?
How did they shoot you over there?
I'm sorry, say that again, Ron.
Said, how did they smoking pipes kind of like delegated to you a little bit, do a little spying maybe, or a little you know, C&D? How did you get that from smoking pipes?
Well, so Cornell and Diehl came to be. I'm gonna go further back, and I'm sorry for the weird timeline, guys. This is like a quintessence.
Okay, don't worry about it.
But so Cornell and Diehl had been for some time my go-to, my favorite blending house. And this is before I got the job at Smoking Pipes, after I had worked at Jeremy Reeves, where I first encountered C&D and GLPs and two friends. So that what C&D was doing really resonated with me in a way that a lot of other European manufacturers and American manufacturers really hadn't quite been my cup of. But C&D really, really was. So when I was in Portland working at the wood-fired pizza place, my boss, the owner, he and his wife decided to go to Paraguay for about a year and a half to work with an organic farm there, teaching people how to make cheese. So he left me in charge, which basically meant that I was working like 80, 86, 89, 120 hour weeks.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So after that year and a half, he came back, and I had kind of been in a, you know, living to work and not working to live kind of place for that year and a half. And it was fun and it was exhilarating, but it was exhausting. And when he came back, I was like, cool. I'm glad you're back. So I started looking around at, you know, kind of what my options were and what I might want to do instead. And I was really thinking in terms of like staying part-time at the wood-fired pizza place and maybe getting a job at like 82nd Avenue Tobacco and Pipe there in Portland, or at Rich's or something like that. But I kind of had this Jones to get back into a smoke shop. And that was really what I was thinking. But smoking pipes had for some time kind of been my go-to smoke shop. I loved being able to, even though it was a website, I loved being able to actually see the pipe that I was interested in. And I loved being able to call and talk with somebody who was knowledgeable about pipe tobacco on the phone. And so I would call and place my orders, and that in a lot of ways kind of filled the gap for me of times when I couldn't get to 82nd Avenue or make it downtown to Rich's. Smoking pipes was very much for me a brick and mortar store kind of experience.
Okay.
So I decided on a whim to apply there, and kind of didn't expect to hear back. And I got called back the very next day.
Wow.
And they were like, hey, would you be interested in joining us for a phone interview in 2 days? So did a phone interview. And then at the end of that, they were like, so we want to fly you out to South Carolina and interview in person. And so they bought a plane ticket and flew me to South Carolina. And I did 3 pretty intensive days of interviewing with them. And so at the end of it, they offered me a position in the customer service department, because they felt like I was a good fit, and like I knew a lot about pipes, and I knew a lot about pipe tobacco, and had a lot of experience working in tobacco shops. And so I accepted, and
nice.
ended up moving across the country and working there in customer service. Well, when I got here and started in customer service, Ted Swearingen let me know, hey, we couldn't really tell you when you were just interviewing for the position, but now you're a part of the company, and I know you're a really big C&D fan. You should know that we just merged C&D into the Ladisi Corporation, and that will be announced in January of 2014. So this was November of 2013.
Okay.
So just a few months from now, it's going to be public that your favorite pipe tobacco manufacturer is also a part of our company. Yeah. So he was like, keep doing what you're doing in customer service, but you should just think about that. And I got hints like that dropped at me a few different times, that, hey, by the way, when they relocate, Ted Connolly, who is currently their head blender, is not going to be coming with them. He wants to retire and stay in Morganton. And so, yeah, I kind of got this like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, know what I mean? Think about this. Well, then one day I'm sitting in my cubicle at customer service, just gotten off the phone with somebody, and Sykes comes around the corner and he's like, hey, Jeremy, can I talk to you for a few minutes? Why don't you come with me? So I'm like, okay, what's up? And he's like, well, back here. So we go into this office and I walk in and Josh, my manager, is there, and Sykes is there, and Chris Tarler is sitting there. And I walk in and I sit down and I'm like, what's up?
What did I do wrong, right?
Yeah, get a little nervous, I gather.
And Sykes said, how would you feel about working at Cornell and Diehl?
Wow.
And so I tried my best to not be too overjoyed, and I was like, yes, absolutely, I'm in 100%. So I still had duties in customer service, and we had to hire somebody to replace me, and we had to get that person trained and up to speed, and I was the best person to train them. But I also needed to learn a lot of ins and outs and processes and all sorts of things about the way that Cornell and Diehl ran. So we got a furnished apartment in Morganton, and I spent 2 weeks in Longs in customer service at Smoking Pipes. And then I would go for 2 weeks to Morganton and stay in the furnished apartment and work at C&D. And I did that for 6 months.
Wow.
So
that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And the rest is tobacco history.
Yeah. Now, did C&D's blender at least stay with you to, show you their existing formulas and everything?
Oh yes, absolutely. That's the reason that I was traveling there, to be able to blend at the blending table with Ted and with William, and to learn about the business from Chris and from Brenna and Ben and
wow.
all the folks that were there. But at the end of the time in Morganton, everyone that was there basically said that they did not want to relocate when it came down to it. They all had the option to.
Okay.
So I found myself in a position where I had just been going to be, one of the blenders, and then all of a sudden I'm at a position where I also have to be finding people to actually put in positions to replace and training those people. And a much more involved operation than what originally was planned, but it worked out and it's been awesome.
Yeah, I'd
All
say.
right.
Right place, right time.
Yeah.
Well, you paid your dues.
Yeah.
I like to think so, yes.
Do you have someone you're in training now with you as far as the blending is concerned?
Well, we've got two guys that are in regular production blending, and 2 guys that work in tobacco processing, and then 8 people in packaging, and then 3 people in administration, myself and Matt Johnson and Crystal Harrelson. So Matt and I kind of split roles of what would be like, one person can't manage the whole shebang of Cornell and Diehl. And so he and I kind of have jobs that interact and that in some ways mirror one another, but he really is deciding when we're doing things and who is doing them. I am deciding what tobaccos we're using in things, what recipes look like, and why we do things the way we do them. So I have more of a quality control and what the substances are that we're putting together, what the recipes are, what the individual leaf grades are, those kinds of things. That's all in my wheelhouse. And as far as what's scheduled to be worked on today and who's going to be working on what, that's what Matt does.
When you're
your process about if you were introducing something new, what basically your process? I mean, you just sit at the bench and start playing with different tobaccos because you know pretty much what complements what, but how do you really come to that final decision about, wow, this is a blend that I think is marketable? Because I have, you know, 6 tobaccos that I play with and I enjoy blending. I really do. But I mean, what's the real process behind it as far as you know, a big house, tobacco house? What do
Sure.
you do?
Well, I mean, the ideas come in a lot of different forms. And you know, I'm certainly, as they say, no man is an island, and I'm certainly not you know, it's not just me going like, okay, well, I want to make this. You know, sometimes it's an idea that Aaron or Rob will have that you know, starts a conversation or starts an experiment that we want to do. We've had blends that have really just started as you know, oh, I just wanted to make something for me, and then like, whoa, there's actually something there. Like, can I see your recipe and can I play with it? And so I've gotten inspiration that way. We've gotten inspiration just, you know, not so much inspiration, but just a customer, a distributor will have a request of us, a blend that they want us to make. And we've also had instances like there's a brand that we manufacture called Maverick that is only available in Russia. And the company in Russia contacted us, said, we want to get into pipe tobacco. We want you to design a brand for us, and we want 20 blends. And that was really all the guidance that I got. So I had a few months of working on developing 20 blends to make a well-rounded and well-balanced product mix for them. And
you know, starting out with 20 is pretty big.
Yeah,
I bet you a lot of them have a lot of vodka in them, right?
You know, actually a couple of them do have vodka because it's a really great carrier for flavors. You know, because it doesn't have much flavor on its own, and so I do actually use vodka as a carrier in a couple of the casings.
Nice.
But certainly not vodka flavored. You wouldn't ever know that the tobacco was treated with vodka to smoke them.
Right. Now, are
yeah,
any of those available in this country?
Oh.
Or strictly Russia? And do they export?
They do not export. It is Russia only at this point.
Huh. Interesting.
So those blends, you know, I was just talking to Amu Torres at Arlington Pipe and Cigar about this. You know, there are blends in Europe that we will never see here in the States.
Yeah.
And I assume it's the same, you know, in Europe, that there are blends we have that they can't get.
Right.
That's absolutely right. We don't have European distribution right now. And we've wanted to and have tried to figure that out. But because you've got so many different legal restrictions and so, you know, the warning labels that the FDA for a while was enforcing or planning to enforce pipe tobacco. Those things are very detailed. They have a specific font, a specific thickness of the border around the outside. It has to be in a certain place on the label. You know, they have all these requirements. Well,
it ruins the label.
Yeah, I was going to say, and ruins the artwork on the tin.
The artwork.
Right.
Don't you guys sell tobacco in California?
What's that?
Don't you sell tobacco in California?
We do.
I'm sure it's easier to get tobacco into Europe than it is to get it into
Probably.
Actually, some of our biggest shops are in California, believe it or not. But in Europe, now you've got all these different countries that require those same kinds of labels, but every country has different requirements. So to have European distribution, you've got to have literally hundreds of different labels for each individual product.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So, because what will go to Spain, that doesn't fit the bill for what would be required in Italy, or what would be required in Ireland, or what would be required in, you know what I'm saying? So distribution in Europe is very, very difficult because of the number of countries in the European Union, and all of them have different requirements as far as warning labels on tobacco.
Now, speaking of like different hardships and getting tobaccos into different areas, we're seeing a lot of cities and counties now putting bans on flavor tobaccos and stuff. So how are you seeing that affecting your guys' business, and is there like workarounds? Are there loopholes that they're not watching, or how is that affecting Cornell and Diehl right now?
At this point, all I can tell you is that we are busier now than we were around Christmas.
Okay.
Wow.
So, we are not seeing a decline in business or in sales whatsoever. Demand is going up, not down for us.
Wow.
Well, Tim just talked about California. I just finished reading that California is banning all flavored tobaccos. That certainly has to have an effect on you, though.
That certainly would, but we also make a lot of tobaccos that have no flavoring whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah.
And we make maybe more tobaccos that don't have any added flavoring than we do that do. So
you hear that, Tim? You delicate flower.
All I know is when you find out that your favorite line is going out of existence, you take out a small loan on your house and you buy it. Just saying. So that leads me to another question. Because there are a few shops in Chicago, we have Jeremy Reeves in the city. You've got Arlington Pipe and Cigar in Arlington Heights, and both of those locations have a very knowledgeable staff when it comes to tobacco. So, when I go into one of those shops, I can say, hey, I'm looking for, something that's a heavy, heavy black Cavendish with some vanillas, some whiskeys, some bourbons, and I can talk to to be honest with you, people who are fairly knowledgeable, about tobaccos. So I'm interested to hear from the blender himself, for the delicate flower audience. What is your best Smurferific unicorns and rainbows tobacco?
Stay with us, folks. We're not going anywhere. Don't run away.
Unicorns and rainbows. I can't say I have ever found inspiration for tobacco in unicorns and rainbows, but
you're wrong.
I think that our most pronounced and sweetest aromatic that we make is Autumn Evening.
Yeah, that's a very.
I think that blend is unique, not just to our catalog, but I think it's unique to a lot of pipe tobacco out there, in that the aroma of the tobacco and the way that it actually tastes is the same. That sweetness that you get and the flavor profile that you anticipate from the smell actually does carry through in the smoke, and that's pretty rare in my experience.
I would agree with you.
I think
you said you were adding a little bit more maple this time.
I neither confirmed nor denied it, but
my wife loves the smell of that.
Yeah, I'm thinking
favorite tobaccos when I smell
like pancakes.
Yeah.
Syrup. Bob, just eat some pancakes and have some syrup.
Well, I know, but I like smoking it. I can't get the French toast in the bowl, you know.
So
And it would just
there's
gum
a
up. It would just
smokable
gum up the
version of
bowl.
Lucky
Yeah.
Charms. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all.
Lucky Charms.
I mean, you know,
Jeremy, I have a question for you.
Would you say that's your biggest seller too, Jay?
because we've got a question.
Hey, you don't even let me speak tonight. What
I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you.
Yeah. Hey, Bob,
Remember,
turn
we're
your
looking
hearing
at
aid
the
up.
speaker.
Yeah, turn your hearing aids on, Bob.
No, our speaker is not that good. I'm sorry.
All
Good,
right.
Greg.
Okay, here you go. When you go out to source your tobacco, obviously you have to do some traveling, correct? Because you're going to farms. What do you look for in a tobacco before making that purchase while you're out in the field or actually looking at plants or leaves or whatever in the
Frank,
production?
I'm sorry. Can you speak a little louder? We barely hear you here.
Oh,
Turn your speaker up, not down.
it's
Working on it.
up. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think Jeremy heard.
I can
Jeremy
hear you
probably
just
heard
fine,
you.
Frank, but
Yeah.
it sounds like they were having a hard time.
Yeah, they're technical issues on their end. Don't worry about it. So Frank, you continue.
All right.
Jeremy, you answer. Let them figure it out on their own.
Okay. All right. So, Frank, that is a great question, and I do go and travel to farms and look at fields and things, but when I'm sourcing leaf, I'm not sourcing raw leaf that is in the ground out of a field. I need leaf that's actually been cured and that has a little bit of age on it, is actually ready to use.
Okay.
So when I'm sourcing leaf, I'm really working with leaf dealers
Okay.
who have relationships with farmers and who have relationships with big tobacco companies that commission crops.
Okay.
Because Cornell and Diehl, we could not afford to commission a crop that would be worth a farmer's time to grow, only to have, say, a hurricane come through like it did 2 years ago and knock out 130 million pounds of USA flu-cured tobacco.
Wow.
And we still owe the farmer for that tobacco that we asked him to grow.
Right. Yeah.
So farmers are growing their crops because they have a customer that is going to buy that crop.
Right.
And then they have a target grade or groups of grades that they as individual farmers are trying to produce. And that grade has been commissioned too.
Gotcha.
So when I then go to my leaf dealer and say, I'm looking for this particular grade or these types of grades, and I need this level of nicotine and I need these levels of sugar, then I'm asking him to go not to just this farm or this farm or this farm. He's got hundreds.
The marketplace.
Yes, he's got hundreds of farms in the U.S., thousands of farms really in the U.S. Plus, he's also got farms in Brazil and in Vietnam and in all sorts of other places that, depending on the kind of leaf that I'm looking for, he's really got the world to be able to source that leaf from. And then he'll send me samples of those things that are nearest to what I was looking for. And then it's a process of me smoking through those samples and seeing what sticks. And if nothing sticks, then I go back to him again and say, no, I think we need to be looking for something more like this.
Gotcha.
Would you say the bulk of your stuff is coming from U.S. farms then?
Yes. So our red Virginias all come from U.S. Our bright Virginia has consistently come from Canada, because they make an incredibly pristine bright leaf.
Wow. Okay.
And so I'm really, really consistently impressed with the quality that Canada brings to their bright leaf. So we use North Carolina Red Virginia. We use Canadian Bright from Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, we are using Bosma from 2014, which was grown in Greece.
Wow.
Izmir from 2013, that was grown in Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Catarini from 2005 from Greece. Latakia from Cyprus. One Black Cavendish from the Dominican Republic, one Black Cavendish from a manufacturer here in the States, cigar leaf from the Dominican Republic and from Italy, and from Ecuador. Dark Fired Kentucky from Kentucky, Dark Fired Kentucky from Italy for San Sepolcro.
Okay.
Perique from Louisiana, dark burley and white burley from the USA. The white burley comes from Maryland currently, and dark burley from Kentucky currently. Kasturi from Indonesia. So all over the world, but the Red Virginia, white burley, dark burley, and bright Virginia make up the vast majority of the poundage of products that we make.
Nice.
Most of the other leaf functions in a more condimental capacity.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool.
Thank you. Yep.
I don't know if you can hear us. We kind of lost the volume completely.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
We can hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Yeah. I think they're working through some internet trouble issue, shooting stuff there.
Gotcha. Frank, did that answer your question?
That really, that clarified it for me, because I wasn't sure where in the process. And obviously, now that you've had the opportunity to kind of digest all of the different varietals, do you tend to gravitate when you're blending towards certain things just because of your own kind of flavor profile, so it's hard to kind of move away from?
Well, I mean, I have always been a fan of variety. I am a fan of variety with food. I'm a fan of variety with pipes. I'm a fan of variety with the pipe tobacco types that I enjoy. And I am always down to try something new. So I do have old favorites, but I also really enjoy going out on a limb and trying something stupid.
So has there been a something stupid that all of a sudden became like this incredible blend, and you were like, wow, that just was like happenstance? You didn't think that would actually occur?
Yeah, I made up the sauce for Sun Bear off of what really was a short conversation about, like, wouldn't it be cool to do like a summer blend and maybe use honey from your bees? And that turned into well, what if we try this? No, that doesn't quite work. Well, what if we try this? Well, that doesn't quite work. And playing with it for about 3 months before I got that sauce right. But yeah, there were some things along the way that I thought, like, this will never work, and then was blown away by how they actually did work in developing the casing, because I didn't want it to be an aromatic.
Gotcha.
But I wanted the casing to be something more interesting than just honey, or than just sugar, or
Gotcha.
Yep. So, and another time, kind of something stupid.
Gentlemen, we're having technical difficulties.
That's all right. We're running through it.
Yeah, another time I made a casing for one of the Lovecraft blends, one of the old ones, Mad Fiddler Flake.
Okay.
In working on that blend, it originally was going to be like, I knew I wanted to make a vapor for that grouping of tobaccos, but it was going to be an old one, so it needed to be weird somehow.
Yeah.
And so like I knew that to round out that line we needed a vapor.
Okay.
But I didn't know what the weird thing was going to be. And so I found this leaf, this Casturi. It came to me in one of these, kind of rounds of samplings, like I was talking about before. I was trying to source cigar tobacco, and the dealer, a friend of mine, included in it a sample of this Casturi, and he was like, I don't know what the hell this stuff is, but maybe you can do something with it. It's pretty weird. And I was like, cool, thanks. So I smoked some, and it was kind of like a Burley, kind of like Virginia. It had a little bit of a smoky taste to it, and it also had sort of an oriental component to it. So It was like a blend all rolled together just on its own as straight leaf. And it was the spiciest thing I'd ever smoked.
Wow.
So I was like, this is really cool. Like when I say it was spicy like lingering heat on the back of your palate 10 minutes after you smoke.
That's a long time.
Huh.
Yeah. And like capsaicin, like you had eaten something really spicy, and I'd never experienced anything like that with tobacco. And so I added some Casturi to Mad Fiddler, and then I thought, it needs some sweetness, but nothing overt. What would happen if I took deer tongue and soaked it in vodka for a few days?
Okay.
to extract the flavor of deer tongue without actually adding it to the tobacco. So then I cased the whole thing with the vodka that had been soaking some deer tongue.
Right.
And that introduced this really interesting sort of clove and allspice kind of flavor, and a little bit of that deer tongue aroma.
Yeah.
That tied the whole thing together.
Wow.
But that was really just an off the wall idea that I had of like, how can I add deer tongue without adding deer tongue?
That's cool. Yeah.
Exactly. That's really cool. Another question for you. Since you have a cigar background as well, would you ever consider kind of teaming up with a cigar company and kind of doing a cigar blended with some
we've actually done that very thing. Kyle Gellis from Warped and I have worked on a line of Warped pipe tobaccos that are all blends that he and I collaborated on together. Most of them do incorporate some cigar leaf, and a couple of them are even patterned after cigars that he currently produces, but we wanted to recreate those flavors using more traditional pipe tobacco and a little cigar tobacco. But yeah, we've actually done that very, very thing.
Awesome.
Now, back years ago, Cornell and Diehl used to make you blend your own kits, and those had gone away. Is there any talk of those maybe making a resurgence, or?
No, at this point, no. And the reason was, so the small batch blending kit was something that we made a limited number of in 2015. And what may not be obvious to people who are just buying the product off the shelf is that everything we do is a recipe. Yeah. So the recipe for the small batch blending kit is all the different tobaccos in 50-gram tins. And then those tins have to be added to the recipe of building one unit of the small batch blending kit, along with a beard net, along with a pair of gloves, along with the blending bowl, along with the digital scale, along with the packing inside, along with the box, etc., etc.
Okay.
Oh, this is weird.
Oh yeah, you got.
They're doing some feedback.
They're on the delay.
Yeah. Oh, guys, hello.
I'm the small batch blending kit, along with the beard net, along with the hey, blending bowl, along with the digital scale.
There you go.
So, have we caught back up?
Yeah. I don't know what they're doing over there, but yeah. So yeah,
it's weird. Like it's weird. Like time is merging right
Sorry,
now.
guys.
Yeah.
The only way we can hear you right now, we're trying to get sound. We can hear you, but I don't think you're hearing us.
I can hear you right now.
It's the opposite. We can hear you, but you're not hearing us.
Right.
So yeah, getting back to that the whole kit and everything's a recipe on its own.
Right. So building all of that one at a time, when you've got like 35 different items that also have to be manufactured,
Mm-hmm.
all of the tins of tobacco and everything.
Okay.
The people who normally are doing the packaging of all of our other products were just building those kits.
Gotcha.
And it was a very, very time consuming and sort of clustery experience putting them together. And at the end of it all, we were like, all right, that was cool, but I don't think we're going to do that again.
Yeah. It's not cost effective to do all that, to take people off the production line and
exactly.
get things going. As then I lose out on Black Frigate.
That's right. Which we honestly have a hard time keeping in stock anyway. So
see. Now, when your guys are compressing the Black Frigate into the cakes, how long does that typically stay compressed for before it's chopped up? And
sure, so a period of days, but it's a few different steps to make Black Frigate. The first thing you have to do is make Blockade Runner.
Okay. Yep.
And so that is a blend of stoved and unstoved red and bright Virginia that soaks in rum for 7 days.
Okay. Yeah. Nice.
So after Blockade Runner is done soaking, then you add Oriental and Latakia to it in the proportions that make it Black Frigate.
Okay.
And then you stove that to heat up the tobacco.
Okay.
Then you put it into the press and you press it at 2100 psi in our swing press for about 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay.
And then you remove it from the swing press, transfer it to a 15-ton press, and hold it there for 4 days.
Wow. Okay.
Now,
So
when you're stoving it, what is that actually doing to the tobacco?
Well, the tobacco has soaked in rum for 7 days. So 40% of the moisture that is on the tobacco is alcohol that you don't want present by the time it's going into somebody's pipe.
Right.
You burn it off.
So we're cooking it off, and we're also heating up the tobacco so that when it goes into the press, it will begin basically a fermentation.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's essentially hot pressing. We're just doing it, heating it up and then pressing it, as opposed to pressing it in a hot environment.
Gotcha.
Oh, perfect. That's awesome. Yeah, we appreciate all your knowledge and everything you brought to the show tonight, Jeremy. Really appreciate it. I'm sorry that our co-hosts here have run into technical issues on their end. Yeah, this is the life of technology and the way we move things. So, if there's anything like new on the horizon that Cornell and Diehl is coming out that you can let out of the bag
Guys,
tonight.
can you hear
So, but let us, maybe let you know what we have going, what you have coming out in the future.
Sure, absolutely. So everybody keep your ear to the ground for the release of Sun Bear that will be very shortly forthcoming. Just a few short weeks, and we'll have a fairly sizable amount of Sun Bear.
I thought you weren't going to tell anybody about that, man.
All that's released. There was a particular detail that I shared with you.
I'm sorry. We completely lost all volume. The last word out of your mouth, Jeremy, was Indonesia. And we haven't heard anything since. So now I have to listen to my own show to hear what happened.
Yeah. Go back and listen to it, Bob.
I know.
We've got a couple other things coming out from the Warped lineup, hopefully, before the year's out. So a couple other things that Kyle and I have been working on together. It is Greg Pease's 20th anniversary.
Ooh.
I'll let him take it from there as he sees fit, but I'm just putting that idea out in people's minds that 20 years ago was when GLP's brand was founded.
Wow, 20 years
ago. So keep an eye out for special things regarding that. I think there are a few exciting things on the horizon. Some of them I can talk about, and some of them I have to merely speculate.
Nice. That's all right. We appreciate everything that you've done for us and coming on the show tonight, Jeremy. We look forward to getting together with you at the Richmond show. Going forward, we hope we'll probably all be there, and then we'll get together, do a live show down there. Maybe even get in on your blending class and go for that one.
Cool.
But I appreciate it from Great Lakes Smoke Show. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And,
thank you guys. This is really, really nice. I had a lot of fun.
And we look forward to getting you back on the show once we're all together again.
On before Richmond, just to touch base.
Oh.
Say that again, Bob.
We'd like to get you on before the Richmond show once more, so we find out about Sun Bear or a couple of other things that are coming out.
Sounds good. That sounds good.
Blah 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 blah.
All right.
Sun Bear. Sun Bear.
Jeremy, thank you. We wish you all luck.
Stay safe and stay healthy.
Yes.
Right, you all as well.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night.
Jeremy Reeves from C&D, and I hope you enjoyed that segment. There was so much information and really about his personal life, which was simply amazing. And now to the head man at D, and we're excited that we had him, and we're looking forward to meeting him at Richmond. And folks, thank you. Sorry for the little delay that we've had on our side. But moving forward, we are going to come across our weekly special is Stump the Chooch, guys. I know we're running a little bit over as usual, but we have special guests. That's what happens.
Here we go. This day in history.
Da-da-da-da. And remember, don't be a chooch.
That's right.
Yes.
Right. It could be today, could be yesterday, could be tomorrow. But the idea is think about whatever Frank said.
Exactly. It's some year around this day in history. And I go way back. Sometimes I go back to the early, 400 or 500 time frame, but that's because I have a long tooth for history. So, I want to make sure that we all, So here's your first question.
This is from the Jurassic period, right?
I go back to the Jurassic period. I do. So here's our first question. On this day in 1807, What czar meets with Napoleon Bonaparte? This is 1807. What czar?
They did some kind of treaty. There was a treaty in that.
I'm not talking about any treaty right now. I'm talking about the czar. He had a name. He met with Napoleon on this date in 1807. And this date is very important for Napoleon. Yeah. For whatever reason, this date is important for him. But
Henry,
what's
I don't know.
Star? It starts with an A.
With an A?
Yeah. Back then, from 1800s, what's a big name? A lot of kings named.
Yeah, I can't think of the name.
Alexander. Alexander.
There you go.
Already one stumping of the chooches.
And Andre already put it in, but it's not for you yet, Andre. We got 2 more. How is Andre on
Andre's hot tonight. He's waiting.
Technically, Alexander the First.
Yeah. He was a czar.
Next question.
That's why I said on this day in history, 1815.
1815, did you say?
Yes, 1815. Same date in history. What date was that before? 1807. So we're looking at 8 years later on the same day.
Mm-hmm.
After defeating Napoleon at Waterloo, where do they march? Where do the victorious Allies march? Where do they march into? It's history here. Come on. Where do you think they would?
The capital of France.
Paris. There you go. I mean, I'm giving you one. I'm laying one out on a platter. I mean, come on.
That was an easy one.
I know. I figured I'd give you a couple of easy ones. Dude. God.
They're all chooches tonight.
No. This is going to be a good one, though. This is. No, I'm going to save this one. I think I'm going to.
Just hold on, Frank. Just to let you know, Andre said his aunt was related to the Tsar Nicholas. So stay away from the Russian stuff, will you?
Listen, I think Andre's related to just about everybody. If he looks into Wikipedia, he's got a relationship everywhere. All right. On this date, 1943, so what war are we looking at?
World War II.
All right, you're staying with me now, guys. You're staying with me.
Okay.
Who makes the V-2 missile program a top priority in armament planning? The V-2 missile program. Who initiates that?
Theodore Roosevelt.
Oppenheimer.
No, he takes care of your mutual funds.
Tim says Hitler.
It's Hitler. Adolf Hitler. There you go. All right.
Okay, so this is for the pipe tonight.
The pipe. Let's see the pipe. Let's see what we got.
This is from Tim Garrity, one of his donations again. A beautiful pipe for 2 weeks. We're trying to give this away. Andre is on the button, Frank. Just letting you know.
Oh, I know. Andre's always on the button. He's never been off the button.
Okay. This is it. Hands on the buzzer. Let's go.
On this day in history, I need to know 2 things now. All right? 2 things. Not one answer, 2. On this date in history, this British person becomes the very first disc jockey for the BBC. I want to know the year and the person. On this date in history, this person becomes the very first British DJ. Right. When he plays records for the BBC, I need to know the year and the person.
Kyle, keep that Facebook.
I'm not screwing around anymore with Andre.
Play the tune there, Kyle.
Yeah, play the tune because I'm not going to let him wait too long. I'll pull the plug on this quick. I need the year and the person.
Okay, that's it.
Alexa would have had this answer by now.
Oh, Andre says Christopher Stone, 1927.
Andre, that son of a gun.
That's a nice one, Andre.
He comes in under the wire again.
Very good. We got a winner, Andre.
I had a feeling he was going to get it tonight.
He's the only one hot to handle again. He got it just under the buzzer. This one he wins, Frank. He wins. He deserved that one. That was
he didn't deserve it. He deserved it. I made it.
I'm going to mark this up as an Andre giveaway again. I think I should just do this once a month to him. So, the package is not, it's cheaper.
You know what I think we should do? I think we should have Andre repurpose. It's like paying it forward. He should now be the sponsor of the pipe. So instead of, he could say, this pipe is sponsored by Andre. And this way,
this pipe is going to Andre.
Very good, Andre.
Nice.
Very good. Hey, we're almost wrapping up a time, but you know what, Kyle? Should we get in some sponsors in the meantime? Can we do a quick sponsorship here?
All right. So as our first sponsors are our boys from New York City, DAV. Those guys are making a hell of a cigar out there, and if you haven't smoked one yet, I suggest you go and find one at your local brick and mortar store. Pick one up tonight and smoke one of those down. They are an excellent smoke. Our boys, Armin and Val, they know what they're doing with the tobacco leaves, and they make a decent and excellent product. Our other sponsors are R&A Treasures out of Tampa Bay. These guys help put together some of the pipes that we give away on the show as well here too. And they have a plethora of pipes in their catalog and warehouse, all at very, very low cost pricing for anywhere from the experts to the newbies out there. Make sure you go and check them out on their website, R&A Treasures. These guys will not lose a sale to you, so you can make new deals with them. And then lastly, the new president sitting there with you, Tim Garrity from our Chicagoland Pipe Collectors Club. And coming to you in 2021 will be the Chicago Pipe Show. We'll be getting more details to that as the things come along, but Tim is our new president and our new focus for this club, and will be bringing us to the new year and new legacy that he's going to lay down the law there for you. So
we're always looking for new members.
Where no matter where you are in the world, you can become a member of the Chicago Pipe Club. Anyway, awesome group, great sponsorship. And if you're interested in sponsoring, put us a little PM on our Facebook page or write to the Great Lakes Smoke Show at AOL.com. We're always looking for people's input and stories and any information that you can that you'd like for us to pass on to you. Well, folks, it was another great week. We hope you all had a wonderful 4th of July and enjoy the rest of the summer, no matter where you are. Have a great time, everybody. Our special guest, Tim Garrity, stood to my left. And we also had Jeremy Reeves from C&D, a fabulous interview. We enjoyed him dearly. Cousin Frank hanging out in Florida. Thanks again for those wonderful questions.
See you next week.
And to all you listeners, thank you.
Don't be a chooch.
yes.
What's that, Frank?
Remember, don't be a chooch.
Don't be a chooch. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Andre, thank you for the birthday announcement. Thank you. And everyone, till next week, keep it smoking. Take care.
Good night, everybody.